Hi, welcome to Zion Messages. I am glad you're here today. So, I have been a little more quiet lately, and there's been some reason for it, as I'll explain here today. But I'm excited to share with you guys these small experiences I've gone through leading up to this big experience of having another baby and the stories involved with that. And hopefully, that it'll build your testimony, helping you understand these eternal truths that I will be pointing out here today. And so as I recently put up a post here on YouTube. I know not everyone sees posts, but I did share with the internet and of course I did with my family and friends first, that we are expecting another baby, and I am excited. And it's been a lot of work to get to this point spiritually, and it's just, there's just so much to it, of course, as I'll explain a little bit. But I just know, and I have this feeling in my heart that I want to share my testimony about it all and how I've gotten to this point, because these are things that we are to share. These are the things of life that help us get through and to navigate life and figure things out, right? And it's been so clear in my journey to figure out if we want to have another baby. And the reason this one being so important is because I will be having an 8-year gap between my youngest and this baby. So, just to explain some of the logistics, like I said, there will be an 8-year gap. I really thought I was done having children. I had prayed for a long time if we were done, about when my daughter was about 3 or 4, if we were done having children. And I got a clear answer at that time that we were. And I got rid of all my stuff, and I felt like that chapter was closed, and that is okay. And I did feel sad at the time, because I've always figured I would have a bigger family. I grew up in a bigger family, and I love children. I find myself being the happiest and my most highest self as I have been a mother, figuring out myself the most as I've been a mother, and feeling the most joy and what I've made for as I've been a mother. So saying no to that and knowing that it was the right thing to do at that time was hard, but it also there came some peace. And I was feeling like, as I went through time, it was still very clear. We're done. And I just feel like God changes hearts, and he changes minds, and he also has a story for us that we don't understand. And it was very interesting to me that 2 years ago I was feeling these feelings of, I want to have more children. I knew at the time I was done, but my heart has changed. And also that I can handle it. So as more of that backstory goes, as I've explained here on this channel, I went through a major midlife crisis after I had my 3 kids. As I maybe sound like a broken record, but just as for anyone that's watching here, just as a overall recap of it, before 2020 even started, I haven't started having suicidal thoughts. I had my 3rd baby about a year before. And I was going through some pretty rough postpartum depression, so deeply that over the years of having postpartum on and off with these children, and even just through the years, I was starting to get to the point where Satan was telling me the lies that I should end my life. And I did not feel like I can handle, it got to that point. And I really tried to be strong, and I'm a high enough functioning person that I kind of kept it inside. And a lot of people are surprised, like, were you really suffering? How did you, I don't understand. But it is true, and a lot of people hide things, and for me, I did. And there was a lot of other things going on between just my past of my traumas of where I've growing up in the family that I did. Still a good family, but came from a broken home. And my husband working a lot through the years, being very overly worked myself, because as I am being the one at home, I work, and I felt alone, and as he had to go to work a lot, I didn't have much family nearby, living in the state of Utah, where a lot of people have support. At least I felt like it, and I didn't. And I also chemically probably have something that's runs in our family, as it's very true. I have many other cases in my family of I have a cousin that died by suicide. I have many other siblings that deal with this. And I was probably given that lot in life. And so I've talked about that a lot. And the long story short, I had to go to, I had some scares where I was going to hurt myself. I went to a psych ward, and then for months later, I was working on more medications again, on and off with medication, trying to figure that out, trying to be somewhat wise about it, but I was still not in my right mind. And I had to go to a rehab for a month. And I got better. So it took about a year's time for me having those thoughts until I got better. And then from after that, I still had to work on some body image issues and some eating disorders, because I was out of survival mode. But I could then realize I had a problem there, and it was somewhat contributing, as many different pieces are in the puzzle of depression, contributing to a person's mental health and well-being. So within about 18 months of time, my life changed 180, and I was able to slowly over time get better, figure myself out, help myself grow, and really parent myself. And I think back on it now, and I'm just so grateful that God was the artist in creating that in my life, so that I can do that and be a cycle breaker for my family. And I just knew it wasn't going to stand for having this keep going, because this is honestly just generational things that keep happening within my family. And being able to get better and better. And I did feel, even after I got better, that year or two after, and as thoughts would come up, should we have another child, it just never felt like it was right or time. And also, it was very true. I had met my limit. My husband had met his limit. We were complete as a family at that time. And there were also a few other things I just knew I don't know if I could ever get through. As I won't mention here, I just don't know if I can ever do that if I have another baby. I wasn't mentally strong enough to think I can keep going through and raise another with these lingering problems in my life that are still manageable, but probably only if I had 3, especially, as I've mentioned, if I didn't have a lot of support around. And I have, everywhere I go, I have people that love me and support me, but it is very true that we are in a time in society where villages are smaller, and we don't live like we used to, where people can have as bigger families as easily or as equipped. And that's why the birth rate is declining. And there's just so much to it. If you want to go into those demographics of it all, it is so interesting learning about how society has changed and evolved from going away from children. And it's not even people trying to be selfish. It really is only because they don't have the tools or means to do so, me being one of them. But having this sincere desire in my heart later on that it would come to fruition, that I would want to have another, as I'll explain here. So I about 2 years ago, I started feeling like these feelings again, that we were maybe to have another, maybe not, but I needed to put it to rest. And sorry, the lighting is really bright. This is the best place I can find. And it was driven by some pretty heavy forces. That one being, the best one being led by joy. I have never been so joyful over these past years as I've gotten better, of seeing how happy I am being a mother. And it lights me up taking care of these children and seeing them grow up. And it's a slow thing over time. When those younger years you have little babies and toddlers, those are really great years. you just don't understand and see the long term when you're younger, like when you're a younger mom and you're trying to just get through that survival. And now that I'm seeing more of the overall picture, that it does take those younger years to get to this point. You still enjoy those years, but I know it's even going to get better. Like, I've heard from people having teenagers and young adults, and then they have children, and then it's a beautiful thing. This must be how God feels. The plan of families is the work of salvation and exaltation. Is so rewarding and beautiful. So Joy was a huge leader in doing this, that why would I not do this again? If I have the means enough to do so. I do have means at this time that it could happen. I have a wonderful husband. We are financially in a place where we could do it. It's never easy. Things are expensive right now. I have gotten to know myself to such a way that I know I could do it because I've figured myself out. I've understood who I am and whose I am, and even the smaller things of my hobbies and my confidence level, and actually self-actualizing, as have you seen here on this channel, being able to move to a place with more land and property, and being able to have these fun hobbies that have been really fun for me, and being in a smaller place in town that I just, at this point, my husband was mentioning, I don't think we can ever go back to the city. You're way too happy out here. Like, I told you, this is where I needed to be all my life. I just have, and I grew up this way, and I love it this way, and I like the slower pace. I like having the space, and being in town, which is fine for those that are. For me, it was really confined, and it just felt so busy, and I just feel like I'm able to have a little bit more time to my family and self, and then giving to a ward that doesn't feel like you're lost in it, where it's so huge, and a community that you're just it's a huge crowd. It's, for me, that's what I want, and I knew I wanted to raise my family that way, and I've been having a lot of fun doing that. But it was over. So 2 years ago I started thinking and realizing what is truly bringing me joy, and it's having this family with my husband, and how wonderful it is to do it with him. And we were doing better than we've been doing in a long time over these past several years, as we have gotten better, because part of that mental health journey in the past was we were struggling in our marriage as well. And it's only, and I'll explain this probably some other time in another video. I have felt convicted to share that testimony, because I don't know if people talk about marriages as often in such a good light, or it's a little more personal. But I would hope to share our story in such a way that would be so classy, in a way, not giving off dirty laundry. But we've been through really hard times. But I wanted to point to our Savior Jesus Christ, him being the main leader and healer of our relationship, and how beautiful it's been to come back around and make this all better, as we've stuck it out and made sure that we still vow and keep to each other. And there's just been so many different cases of people in my life that have had divorces, and it's just, and we've been able to still stick through, and thank goodness, the joy just keeps building on itself. Thus again, having another baby, it just blows my mind, and sometimes I just can't even handle the happiness. It's sometimes so happy, and sometimes I get really and I think I've explained it here before, I get kind of guilty, feeling like, how am I so happy? Some people are going through such hard things, and I want to just not let people know and make them feel bad or something. But this is what God is hoping for us and for me. And I would not say it's really always that happy. I have also had some strong adversary still on me and on things, but I have a different mindset about it. I could tell I've gotten mentally stronger. There was so much internal work that I had to do. So joy was the main driver of this decision. And I think that's how it is with God. Him having as many children as he is because he is so full of joy with every single soul that is so precious to him. And the other driver of it is regret. As bad as that sounds, it was. I was thinking to myself, and as early on as I had children at 22, 25, and 27. I'll grab a Kleenex here. And so that's pretty young, and thus I think contributed to some of the hardship of not getting to know myself as well yet, though I would not change it. Having children helped me understand myself in such a way. Sorry, I had to wipe my nose. Having children and raising a family was the best way for me to get to know myself. It was hard. It was a very hard way, when I would not change it. I don't think I'd be the person that I am to this level of sacrificing myself. I just feel like if you just keep putting it off in life and having children, it's more about you. And it was harder to go that way, but I was able to learn quicker and mature faster in such a way that I put myself in a way that it's not about me. I was actually, and as I've explained here, I've been very clear. I've been making sure I get what I need and what I want too, but it's hard to explain if you haven't gone through it before. But I'm sure many of you that are mothers listening, you understand. You just wouldn't change it. And now that I'm in my 30s, and I'm actually 35, so I am geriatric as far as pregnancy goes. That would be definitely a term I would change if I were to petition the lexicon, medical terms, and making that not be a thing if I could. So I don't feel geriatric, but it's definitely what they consider it. So silly. And as going back to that idea of regret, I did feel that regret can be a big force for people, and for me it was because I knew, like I'm saying, my age and these numbers. Like my youngest, I would have been 46 or 48 when if she were to leave the nest. I would be an empty nester by my later 40s, and that feels like I feel like that's way too young, especially for someone that loves this. I'm having time of my life seeing my kids progress through life and the things they're doing, and they're excelling, and it's bringing us so much joy. And the things that they do and say, they are teachers to me. I can't believe that God has given me these beautiful souls, and I have so much more to learn from them, and hopefully for me to teach them. And I'm not ready to give that up, as I kept thinking about it. And I knew it still could be a thing where I could have more. People do this sometimes. A lot of times they do it when it's an accident, but I very much feel like this is just a drop in the bucket of eternal time. Like, it does not matter. God is the one who's in charge of time, and he will make it all okay. I'm not so concerned about it. It still is there, as I'll get to it, but so as I started doing some deep introspection of it all, getting real with myself, and really realizing what I want my life to be like, and hopefully being a hands-on, what's the word, like driver of it with God. That's, I think, what he's hoping for, is that we will go to him clearly in figuring out how we want to create our life, and he will grant that accordingly. And he's already shown that to me so much. And so I went to him very nervous and scared, thinking, I can't believe I'm having these feelings. And then he was very good to me, helped me understand these aren't bad feelings. I am so proud of you for wanting to think of this again, and how beautiful it has been for you to become a mother. And as I try to see myself through his eyes, knowing that he is, it's the best thing I could ever really hope for, is progressing a family. And maybe all along he knew there was going to be another that would come and bless our lives, and whatever story this other one brings. But it was very difficult work. It was labor. It was like I had spiritual labor before I go through my own labor, figuring out the decision, because it still was either way. I wasn't like, I felt like we should have more, and I was going to try and have more and just keep praying about it. I still, all the way up until just earlier this year, I was at a yes or no. It was not settled. And also with it being, I had to then work with my husband on it and not push him into it and have a lot of time to talk with him about it. And we went through so many different things thinking about it. This age gap, how are we going to handle it financially? Where do we see our lives being? Am I going to be able to handle it again mentally? That was a huge one for him. And he went through a lot of that PTSD of what he had to support me through those years of my crisis that has been, it still lingers. It's still in his mind of what he went through with me. It was a very scary time. It was very hard. It's all been through some leaps of faith, believing that we can do this again. And it became very clear. The Spirit was never very clear until the very end on I should do this. And I had to work to get to that point. And he was also very, I almost felt like I would pray sometimes thinking like, I really wish I could just have him tell me, and that, or like maybe just accidentally get pregnant. That would be easier that way. But it was harder to go the way around of understanding I am in the driver's seat. God is happy with what I choose. He trusts me enough to figure this out and to choose. And I just felt like if it finally came to the point that it was a yes, and that I was to try. We were to try for another. And I was very grateful for a supportive husband helping me through. And he saw it. He saw that I was working on it for a long time. And he could not deny in seeing that this wasn't just another one of those cases as someone that does like to do lots of things. This wasn't another project. This was human life. This was going to alter his life. This was going to alter our kids' lives. And I wanted to make sure I can give out enough emotionally to everyone in my family. And if we were able to handle this over time, and also raising a child in the place that we are at now, compared to being in town where you have lots of other young families, but now it's not necessarily the case. We live out in the country when there aren't a bunch of young families. And of course, what will help is that this child is going to be with my older kids, and I can still try and plug in with other families that are in our area, that I just have to make sure to foster a community for this new young one with me. So it all came to that point. And to talk about my kids, we try to involve them a little bit in helping them see, or helping them feel like their concerns were heard, as we brought it up to them before we got pregnant. My son he actually was more against it. He's my oldest, and that's because I have him and then 2 girls, and he does feel like he's sometimes on the outs with my 2 girls being such a force. Them 2 together, they are such a force together. And I told him it can be 50-50, that he could get a brother, but it's still a chance that he could get a sister. And he just told us, it's Mom, Dad, it would be so cool to have a brother, but it's not worth it to me, knowing like there's still a really good chance that we could also have a girl. So I felt for him, and I've been there, and actually I've been there double that, because I have 4 younger brothers. I was the oldest of my family, and I had 4 younger brothers, and for years and years and years, I wanted a sister, and I felt like I was the odd man out, and that I was just the babysitter of all these crazy boys. And that was one of my lots in life too. Still good to have siblings, but it was harder to grow up with brothers and to not feel as connected. I was kind of the motherly one to be for them. And that's why I didn't, when I was 18 and ready to graduate, I left out of the state to get away. So I wasn't the babysitter anymore. So, but it's so cool that then my parents, they ended up having a surprise baby, and it was a girl, and she's 16 years younger than me. So we were a sandwich in my family. I'm the oldest, and my sister is the youngest, with 4 boys in between. And I always thought growing up, I hated this idea. I mean, I love them, but I would see other families that they would have these closer gaps in between each other. and they seemed like they were friends. And I just thought, when I have kids, I'm going to try and have them closer together, and they could be more like friends, and I could be done a little younger having kids, and then I can be able to give that energy, because my parents also kind of gassed out towards the end of those childbearing years for them, because they were tired. There's so much going on, and there's also just a lot of stuff going on too. Like I've already said, coming from the broken home of it, I always kind of felt like my parents were divorced anyway. And I just, it's so crazy to think like it's all changing to what I thought I wanted and what I wanted planned. But there's this beautiful concept of that these older kids, and I'm so excited to see it, and it's definitely one of the most beautiful things I could probably do for my kids, is giving them a sibling. It's the best gift I could give to them. And I'm seeing that now. These siblings that I have, they are the people that I'm going to know the most in my life and longest. That's what they say. They are the people that know you the longest in your entire life. More than your parents, more than your spouse, because they've known you from the very beginnings. So that's what was happening in my mind, thinking I am going to be able to have my kids have these friends for life and for eternity. And they will also learn for themselves that they will have how they can have families, and seeing the importance of families and knowing how to raise a family. That's why I am the way I am. So for a long time, I was going against my own self and thinking, oh, like, I don't like having younger siblings, and forgetting all that I learned of being this older sister. I really learned so much. I'm so grateful for those experiences. Many years of babysitting and taking care of kids. Though I don't want it to become a way of being parentifying my kids, and I do feel like I was definitely parentified as a child. So hopefully doing it in such a way where I can help have them come along this journey with me, having my daughters see what it's like as I got pregnant, and they see me growing and taking care of a child. Even my son too, it's very important for him. My daughters, I think, are going to be a little bit more on the side to help, but we'll make that balance work and have that be something we share amongst these kids. And I am so excited for that, like how wonderful it's going to be. And yeah, we're hoping for a boy. We'll see what happens. I have no idea if I mean, I have a hunch that it may be a boy, but I felt that way with my youngest, and it was a girl. So it really is all up in the air. But and then, as I was going to say, that circle that turns around. So if you have older kids that take care of these younger kids, they're getting that experience. And then those younger kids then get older, and they take care of any grandkids, which is their nieces and nephews. So does that make sense? Like there's a circle. And I think that's how these big families in the past, and even of course pioneer times, they weren't doing it for that reason. They were doing it because they had to, of farming and taking, like, really it was a way of survival. But I think it is a really beautiful way that God has structured families. If you are to lengthen out your childbearing years, to have older kids take care of youngers, and then the youngers later on create this wonderful relationship with their nieces and nephews and their older siblings to help them out. I have had my younger siblings help me out, and I'm so grateful for that. So it's a beautiful circle that at any given time that there are children in our lives, because they bring so much joy and a lot of work, but it is a refining experience that I can't deny that I want to go through that again. I want to be brave, and there are these fears. I'm getting older. I have been sick in the beginnings, and I wasn't sick in my 20s. So I always felt like I wanted to keep a hush that I was never sick when I was in my 20s having kids. In that first trimester, I never got sick. Of course, I would get fatigued, but I never got the nausea. I never threw up. And going through pregnancies were somewhat easier. And it's never easy, but from what I was hearing from others, I'm like, this is a little bit easier for me, knowing I'm younger. And but I felt it this time. I got sick in the beginnings in the first trimester, so that was humbling. And maybe this will make it all much more worth of a sacrifice of having another baby at the end of this all. And fears of that mental health past that I've had to go through, but I know I am different now. And just my frame of thinking is different. It opens up as you get older of how you think and what you see, and you have more perspective. And I just can't deny that. And that there are other plans, and really surrendering to the Lord and allowing him to be the driver, because I think he has a lot more planned and in mind for me as I let him. And I have also chosen this, and my husband as well. And I'm just so grateful for God's plan of the family. It is strengthened so much more in the past while of going through all this. And it was a lot of work doing the spiritual work necessary to get to this point. And I did feel the adversary when I was feeling so close to God and having that rush of joy and love within myself and for this new child and for my family. I did also have doubts when I started getting sick, and it was starting to get hard, and starting to understand in those waves of time and understanding where it's heading. It's not like a train wreck. I could do this, but it is going to be harder. Like, having a newborn is hard. And just understanding the gravity. Oh, I'm actually really in it now. And that I don't need to gaslight myself and thinking I made the wrong choice. Because, I mean, even just recently, I did recently have a pretty good panic attack. And it was something I was very shocked within myself having. I don't have those as often. I still have had them on and off through the years. And it's probably pregnancy hormone related. So after I had that, I was being pretty rough on myself, as panic attacks you already are. You're already thinking you're not enough. You're already thinking you cannot handle it. And there's a lot to that story of what I was going through at the time, just recently. But it doesn't mean I made the wrong choice. And so I had to be very clear with myself, and God was trying to be very clear with me. Don't even go there. This does not mean you made a mistake because you felt like what's the word? Like you went back, like you had a relapse. There it is. A relapse. I think this goes with people that have addictions, that they feel they judge their success by how often they're relapsing. And that's not the way to measure it. It's how quick you're going to pick yourself up after you do, and how mentally strong. Of course, there's some progression in knowing your success of that, but allowing and trusting God and giving yourself more of that grace and that love, because that's not any of that thinking of punishing yourself about it is not going to help. And I was able to bounce back better than I have ever done before. For as strong as it felt, and it was at that time, I felt very close to God, having a long conversation with him through the night for a long time, figuring this all out, of all those different things going on at that time. I really did feel like he was helping me bounce back, and that's maybe what's going to be. It's still going to be hard, but I can do hard on my own or hard with Jesus, and I am choosing to do it with Jesus, and I'm able to bounce back a lot faster. And it's all for my testimony to share with you guys here today of this whole idea of families and how strongly I believe in it. And it's just so clear to me that this is where he's doing his refining work through us having a family. This is the best way and mode and method of why he sent us down to earth, to become like him and to become like God, or be like our Savior. He set the way, and then our Savior helps us come back to our Heavenly Father, because we can only dwell with our Father in heaven and have eternal life and forever, and have the greatest happiness and joy of being able to create our own eternal families someday by creating and cultivating these godlike characteristics that are very stretching and hard, of patience, of charity, of endurance, of charity, that is pushed to the brink sometimes with certain people and certain events that I've had to go through sometimes, and really understanding and knowing some of these things will never get better. They will never change in this life, probably, because I don't choose that those people that I have hard times with, they won't choose that, and that's okay. And I can do this. God will give me the strength, and I don't have to have it affect me personally in the different goals and the aspirations and the dreams and the longings of my heart to have a child and to create this next chapter of my life with my family and with my husband. And I'm so grateful for him and all that he does in supporting me through all these things. So I just have to share with you guys my testimony that Jesus Christ changes you if you allow him. He will change your heart. He will change your mind. He will help you find more and more ways to be your best self and happiest self. It will happen. It's very much a living and breathing plan. He's very, very much alive and aware of you. And the moment you stop believing that, and that it's just all happening just on autopilot, and that you're just someone else, that is Satan. That's the adversary. He's gotten after you. Dismiss that. Know that he's personally there with you. Involve him. Make this a close relationship. Get real with him. Do that work. It's really hard work, but it's very possible. And it leads you down to avenues and places you never thought. And my Savior being the one that has changed me and helped me and given me comfort. And I can't deny that. I know he's the Christ. I know he will help you, and he'll help heal this world. This world is going through so much right now. He's doing his work, and he's not going to let it stop, because good will win in the end, and Satan will not be successful. Christ will be victorious. And I wanted to share that with you guys. And I say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thanks for listening. Sorry if it was too long. I had a lot to share. And I'll hopefully be on here again. I do feel convicted that I need to share more. So I hope you're doing okay, and have a great rest of your day.